Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well. Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about...
You guys all set? Good evening. At this time, we'll call the Exeter Select Board meeting to order. Good evening, Exeter. Good evening to my colleagues on the Select Board, respective town staff, those of you who are joining us in person, and those watching at home or online. Welcome to the August 2nd, 2021 Exeter Select Board meeting. I'm going to start by introducing the board. To my far right, we have Selectwoman Lovey Roundtree Olaf. Good evening.
Good evening.
To my right, Vice Chair Selectwoman Molly Cowan. Good evening.
Hi, everyone.
To my left, our clerk, Selectwoman Julie Gilman.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Nico Papakostandis, and Selectman Darrell Brown had a conflict this evening, will not be with us. We have the four of us here, a quorum. Also with us, we have our town manager, Mr. Rustine.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. And our recording secretary, Joanna Bartel. Good evening, Joanna. Okay. First order of business is a board interview. Mr. Dean, is our candidate?
I believe he's here. I believe so.
Mr. Patterson, good evening. Typically, we interview down in the wheelwright room, but we're going to interview you here this evening. If you'd like to come to the podium and introduce yourself.
Yeah. So Tom Patterson. I've lived in Exeter 4 years, and I live abutting one of the town forests, Oaklands. And so I've spent a lot of time in and around a lot of the public lands here, observing, seeing, how things are going. Mm-hmm. Have a personal interest. I mountain bike, hike back there, and just, I noticed that there was an interest or a need for folks to serve on that commission, being the eyes and ears, helping with the monitoring, the management of those lands, public input, gathering information on the ground, and so I wanted to learn more about the opportunity. And
terrific. Well, we appreciate your application and your interest in the commission. We reviewed your CV and your application. Thank you. We'll take a few minutes to ask you a couple of questions.
Sure thing.
We'll start with our clerk, Selectwoman Gilman, who is the Select Board rep to the Conservation Commission.
Hi, how do you do?
Good.
Thank you for coming in. I really don't have any questions because you've kind of pointed out many of the things that the Conservation Commission has under their scope. Just keep in mind that it goes beyond the Oaklands and all
Of
the
course.
Other, yeah. And when you talk about the invasive species and the things that we need to take care of and the fish counting, it's nice to have people that want to participate that way in an official capacity as well as other volunteer opportunity, I guess. So I really don't have any questions.
And could you tell Mr. Patterson when the regularity of the meetings?
The meetings are the second Tuesday of every month at 7. They usually have a lot of activities, fun things to do on the weekends. It comes up seems like a couple of months, huh, Bill, that there's something that you can participate in. And trail work, of course.
Selectwoman Roundtree Olaf?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
And Selectwoman Cowan?
I don't know that I have any questions either. It's really exciting that you're volunteering your time and energy, and thank you for what you've done in the past for our conservation area. It is, one of our jewels in our town, so we're excited to have you, or I'm excited to have you, I'll speak for myself, apply.
I'm also excited, Mr. Patterson, and I appreciate your application and your eagerness to get started. Typically, we wait until the next meeting until we appoint. However, the next Conservation Commission meeting is next Tuesday. So when we get to that point on the agenda this evening, we will take up your appointment. We have done that in the past, so precedent's been set. We're anxious to get you on the committee and started. Mr. Dean, is this a permanent or an alternate? And if so, what is the term?
I'll have to check on that between now and the time you get to appointments.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Do you have any questions for us, Mr. Patterson?
I don't.
Okay. Well, again, thank you. We'll take up your appointment a little later in the agenda, and you're free to stay and enjoy the meeting, or if not, Mr. Dean's office will get back to you.
Okay. Well,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to comment and weigh in with the Select Board. We do ask, though, that if your comment is relative to anything on the agenda, you wait until that agenda item comes up. So at this point, I would open it up to public comment. And if you would, please state your, even though we know you, state your name and your address for the record. Good evening, Mr. Campbell.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Bill Campbell, live at 111 High Street. Since leaving my 9-year stint on the board, which ended 10 years ago, I have tried to keep up with the board's activities. For the most part, I think things have gone well. In particular, lately, I think you and the town have done a great job of handling the pandemic. However, I recently have had a few questions concerning another topic I would like to pose. Is it true that the new position of Assistant Town Manager has been filled? Is that something you can answer, or?
I'd be happy to answer it. It's public comment, but if you're asking and you'd like an answer, I'm happy to answer it.
Well, that would help the next question.
Sure. But let me start by saying it's not a new position. It's a reorganization as a result of a retirement and then a goal and objective set by the Select Board at the public goal setting session in April. So I just want to emphasize that it is not a newly created position, an additional position. It's a reorg.
An Assistant Town Manager before this?
We have not. It's a reorganization from a Human Resources Director to an Assistant Town Manager, Human Resources Director.
I still think this is a new position then, and it's certainly going to have a new line in the budget, and it is, to me, at least in my, whatever it is, 30 years of working here at town, I consider it a new position. And was the position filled in a non-public session?
So getting back to your first question that you asked, the position, and we will agree to disagree, and I do respect your opinion, Mr. Campbell.
Okay.
The position has been filled by the town manager. Mr. Jean, would you like to comment to that?
Yeah, that's correct. After the position was filled a week ago Tuesday.
Sorry, distracted there.
The position was filled a week ago Tuesday.
But I understand it was filled at a non-public session, and since the position was not posted, is that correct? And only one candidate was considered.
I'm not sure that's completely accurate, but I would defer to Mr. Dean to answer that.
It was an internal promotion, and the position was not posted to the general public.
Well, I think when you have the number 2 slot in the town, that is a new position. Then a reorganization, there'll be a new body that was not in the selectman's office, so to speak. You've got the selectman's office, you've got the person that is the executive person in there, and this will be a third person. So in my way of looking at it, I think the appointment is a new position and should be open to candidates and treated like all other positions. I argued, as you know, about 3 or 4 weeks ago that it should have gone to the BRC, Budget Review Committee, because all appointments that I've ever seen, at least that I remember, and I may be getting old and my mind may be kind of going out here, but having served on that since my start of my career as a selectman, and served past the end of my term, served for a few more years, about 12 or 13 altogether. I don't remember, I remember a lot of positions created within departments that still had to come to the Budget Review Committee. And this one, maybe, okay, I take your argument. I mean, I accept the fact that this one didn't, but I still think it's an appointment. I think this is, I don't consider this transparent. It has been no announcement that I know of, and it's been very quiet, and I sort of assume that at some point, 3 months from now or something, this person will pop up in a position that we'll need, and we'll say, oh, yeah, sure, I was appointed, but there's been the transparency is the problem, and the procedure is the problem. To do this in a non-public session and then not and not let the public know what is happening, I think does a disservice to the board. As I say, in most things I think you've done well, but in this one, I think it could have been more transparent, and I think the position should have been at least advertised and opened. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Do we have any other public comment this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We do not have any proclamations or recognitions this evening. We'll move on to the approval of the...
Do the bid opening?
I'm sorry?
Going to do the bid opening?
That is right at 7:15. Yeah, sorry about that.
We're gonna move along.
Yep.
We have the minutes from our Exeter Select Board meeting of July 19th, 2021. I would ask the board at this time if there are any amendments or revisions to the minutes. Seeing none, I would seek an approval of the Exeter Select Board regular meeting minutes of July 19th, 2021.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I wasn't here.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Aye.
It's 3-0 with one abstention. Thank you. And we will move on to appointments. Mr. Dean, do you have the terms for the Conservation Commission?
So it appears there are 2 alternate vacancies with terms ending in 2022, and 1 full member vacancy with a term also expiring in 2022.
Okay.
Should we ask the Conservation, well, we could appoint him as an alternate, and then the Conservation
Yeah.
Commission can decide next week
Sure.
who they want to move into the regular position.
That's fine.
So I would entertain a motion to appoint Thomas Patterson as an alternate to the Conservation Committee with a term to expire April 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. And unfortunately, we have a resignation to consider. We have a letter of resignation from David Wold from the Communications Advisory Committee. So with regret, I would seek a motion to accept the resignation of David Wold from the Communications Advisory Committee.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And we thank Mr. Wold for his time on the Communications Advisory Committee.
One meeting, yeah.
Mr. Dean, can we jump right into maybe the Swayze Park one-way? The reason we're jumping around the agenda is we have a bid opening that's going to be done virtually via Zoom, and it has to be timed exactly at 7:15. So with the board's permission, I'd like to keep moving for the sake of time. So I think this one could be quick. Madam Clerk, if you could read the second reading of the Swayze Parkway one-way town ordinance amendment.
Still looking at the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, probably a good time to note, too, that if you want to waive the reading of the amendment, you can do that by a vote of the board. That would be up to you.
Wishes of the board?
Just read it by title.
Well, if you waive the reading, yeah, you would just describe the title and then vote to waive the reading of the actual change.
So Madam Clerk, if you would.
Yep, I'm trying to get there. So we're doing the Swayze Parkway one? Mr. Chair, it's a second reading of an amendment to Chapter 301 One-Way Streets to add Swayze Parkway northerly from Water Street entrance to exit on Water Street.
Any discussion or public comment? Seeing none, that's the close of the second reading. The third and final reading will be at our Select Board meeting of August 16th. Mr. Dean, with 5 minutes, will that allow time for the second reading of the mobile vending, or do you think that?
I think there's time.
Okay.
All right.
Madam Clerk,
I had it all on here, and now I've gotten lost in it.
if you would, the second reading of the town ordinance amendment to the mobile vending.
Mr. Chair, I move the second reading of, or I don't move it, this is the second reading of change in an implementation of mobile vending process that the board has discussed and approved in the past for Chapter 802.
Any discussion from the board? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none. And Mr. Dean, there's a third reading for this ordinance as well, correct?
Third reading, yes.
And that too will be read at the Select Board meeting of August 16th.
Yeah, just a quick note too, that Selectman Brown had asked a question about some of the wording of the ordinance, so there's some information in the packet about that, where it comes from. It was the RSA after all.
Okay. With 3 or 4 minutes before the bid, could you just summarize that real quickly for the record, the RSA?
Yeah, so the RSA basically says that it talks about the revocation of licenses, and any license granted by the Secretary of State may be revoked by him after hearing. And there are several iterations of what that means, what could constitute a revocation, and that the question that Selectman Brown asked last meeting, that was definitely on the list in the RSA as a method of revoking a license. So that's why we keep it in the town ordinance, because it's reflective of the RSA. And if the RSA were to change, we'd bring it back to you and amend the ordinance again.
Okay. Understood. Any questions or discussion from the board? Okay.
Julie, can you take care of changing those RSAs?
Tell me, edit them for me, and I would gladly do that. The legislative assistant office sometimes doesn't quite get there. But yes, I will too, although there's some discussion on that.
Okay. So while we wait a few more minutes for the Zoom bid opening for the Salem Street Utilities Project, we can skip down to reviewing the board calendar. We've already talked about several public readings at our next meeting. The next 2 meetings in August will be August 16th and August 23rd. And then the next meeting will be September 13th. And I understand, Selectwoman Rontriol, if you won't be here on the 23rd. Selectman Brown confirmed today that he will be present. Okay. So we'll have 4 of us here. Obviously, if there's nothing emergent, we'd hold off on voting anything until you were back. Okay. Are they going to appear on that screen, Mr. Dean?
They should be appearing on that screen, yes.
Okay. And is this going to be a new way moving forward for bid openings, do you think?
Yes, so this is something that Public Works has been working on. In fact, I just saw Jen Mates pop on now.
Okay.
She's our assistant engineer for the people watching at home, and Jen does a lot of our bids and also our public meetings with Public Works. So, hello, Jen, and she's saying hi. So this is.
Hi, everybody.
This is actually a new way. Jen, do you want to describe for the board what we're doing here tonight and for the people that are watching?
Sure. Thank you all for having me. I already learned a lesson tonight that bid openings will be at 7 if we're moving forward, not 7:15. Those 15 minutes pass pretty slowly when you're watching the clock. So we have the bid opening virtually because we made the bid documents available through an online distributor. It makes it a little bit easier for us so that contractors don't have to come to the office or go to another plan holder, like the consultant, to to pick up a plan set. So they just download them, it tracks it all for us. So I've been able to monitor the list of bidders that have been picking up plans and picked up the addendum. So we had a couple addenda. So of the 11 original plan holders, we were down to 4 that have picked up all the addenda, which they need to do to be eligible to submit a bid. It streamlines things a little bit with the bidding process in that they have to complete a form and it doesn't let them actually submit the bid if all of the attachments and questions aren't answered. If they're missing any documentation, they can't actually submit the bid. So that saves us a little bit of time on the back end of things, knowing that all the information is going to be there. So we just have to check the numbers and make sure that everything makes sense.
Yeah, and we're on now.
Great, thank you, Jen.
So I think I hear Joe and Donna talking. They're going to be sharing, hi Joe, they're going to be sharing their screen and showing us the results.
This is the Salem Street Utilities Project, too, just for people watching at home.
Yes.
So it's a bond issue passed at the most recent town meeting. Or I'm sorry, 2 town meetings ago.
So Jen, are you able to see that screen now? You and the select board?
We can see the screen. Jen, for the record, could you introduce who's joining us?
Certainly. This is Joe Ducharme with Boyle Tanner
Hi, Joe.
Associates. I'm the project manager for the engineering firm who designed the project. And with me tonight is Donna Akerley. Donna is our kind of our senior advisor on the electronic bid opening process. She's been managing our paper bids for many, many years. And with COVID, we switched to an electronic platform about 1.5 years ago. And a lot of the DOTs we work with and other communities we work with really like the platform. So we offer it for any of our clients. And Jen and the staff in Exeter at Public Works and Engineering like this idea of being able to distribute documents electronically. And all the tracking is done electronically as well. My apologies, we set the bid opening for 7:15, not wanting to step on the select board's usual agenda and pushing it off a little bit into the meeting, but the timing worked out well, so we thank you for your patience.
Great, thank you.
And Jen, are you able to see the bid?
I can see them. Mr. Chair, can you see the bid?
Not well, but we can see it.
Okay. So let's summarize quickly the detail in the bids, which Jen and her staff and we will review, collaboratively after this evening. But there are 4 bids that were submitted. There was a bid submitted by Jamco Excavating, and their bid is $3,415,853.69. Dave Felice Corporation, another bidder, $4,095,711.25. Albanese and Sons Incorporated, $4,215,838. And N. Grenice and Sons Incorporated, $4,394,925. Those are the 4 bids that were received from 4 contractors. Those are the totals, the bid totals. We will review with Jen and her staff in more detail each of the individual bid items and make sure that all the bid documents were submitted correctly.
I just have a question, a process question. Mr. Dean, is it official for our consultant to read the numbers, or should the chair be reading the numbers?
It really doesn't make a difference because we're on, people can see the meeting and they can see the bids for themselves, so it doesn't, the chairman does not have to read the bids.
Okay, that makes sense.
I did want to add that this project is budgeted at $5.1 million, so the bids look pretty good from over here.
Just to note, the 5.1 does include engineering costs, so there will be an additional contract for HTA once we get the schedule and understand how they're going to be phasing this as far as construction. So these aren't the final numbers that you see. So it will get closer to the 5.1, but I don't see us being at 5.1.
So you would just refer these to Public Works like you would any Public Works bid to be reviewed, and the engineers will review it as well, the consultants.
So, Mr. Chair, if you're ready for a motion, I can make it this.
I am, and that's the only question that I had, Mr. Dean, was Selectwoman Gilman's question, to make sure it's official. And if there's no other questions or comments from the board, then I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to I move to forward the bids for the construction of the Salem Street area utility improvement project to the Department of Public Works for their review and recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes 4-0. Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Donna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Boy, I bet this is such a cost-saving thing for them to do.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Okay. We'll go back to our discussion action items. Next, we have public hearing for Community Development Block Grant for the High Hill Cooperative. At this time, I would seek a motion to open the public hearing on the progress of the Icy Hill Co-op municipal water and sewer connection.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Public hearing's open. Good evening.
Good evening, Donna Lane, CDBG consultant. Please note that there are informational documents available for the public. I just have to read to you, you know I have to. Community Development Block Grant funds are available to municipalities to the New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority. Up to $500,000 annually is available for economic development projects, up to $500,000 for public facility projects, up to $500,000 for housing projects, and up to $350,000 for emergency activities. Up to $25,000 is available per planning study grant. All projects must directly benefit a majority of low and moderate income persons. This public hearing is to update the public on and take public comment on the progress of the Icy Hill Cooperative water and sewer connection into the municipal systems CDBG project. Icy Hill is a 15-unit manufactured housing cooperative located at Deep Meadows Lane in Exeter. The project is currently out to bid with construction to begin in the late summer fall. Construction completion is expected by summer fall 2022. The project was supposed to be done by December 2021, but was delayed. We are requesting a year extension as well as what we're going to talk about tonight. So that's the update on what's going on today over at Icy Hill. Okay. Does the board have any questions or comments?
No, yes, I do. No, I think it's great that this work is continuing for that development as they progress through and become as self-sufficient as possible. It's great.
Any other questions? At this time, I would ask for public comment. If any member of the public would like to come forward with comment. Seeing none, I would bring it back to the board and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Passes 4-0. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing on the Ice Hill Cooperative Project gap financing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
And that, of course, is my typo. It's Icy Hill, not Ice Hill, sorry. So New Hampshire CDFA has made available a gap financing pool set aside of approximately $900,000 for projects financially impacted by increased costs due to COVID-19. $71,000 of gap funds have been requested for the Icy Hill Cooperative Municipal Water Sewer Connection Project. And so that we have requested them, it actually on your form says it's conditionally awarded, but it is actually going to advisory board on Thursday, CDBG advisory board. They have put aside the money for us, but it hasn't been voted on. That will be on Thursday. A condition would be this public hearing that we're having tonight. So we need a little extra money. It's taken us a while. Prices are kind of fluctuating all over the place. So, but fortunately, there is this pool and the engineers have decided that's where the $71,000 comes from. That's how much extra we're going to need. Does the board have any questions on the gap financing?
There are no questions from the board. At this time, I would open it up for public comment. If there's any member of the public wishing to comment. Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the submittal of a gap funding amendment request to CDFA for $71,000 for the Icy Hill Cooperative Municipal Water and Sewer Connection CDBG project to cover increased construction costs due to COVID-19.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
They'll have a form on Thursday. I'll send it over after.
Okay. Very good. Thanks, Donna.
Good night. That concludes our discussion and action items for this evening. We bring it to Select Board regular business. There are no tax abatements, credits, or exemptions this evening. There do not appear to be any permits and approvals. So, Mr. Dean, Town Manager's report, please.
So just a few items on the personnel front. I'm very pleased to announce that Melissa Roy is our new Human Resource Director / Assistant Town Manager. We welcomed Melissa last Tuesday, as I mentioned, and we're excited to have her in the position. So I think she'll do a great job for the town and really looking forward to having her in that role. Moving on to second personnel move was David Tovey. He is now elevated to Assistant Parks and Rec Director. That was actually Melissa's old position. So David will be moving into that position shortly, and within the next couple of days, I believe that will take place. And then the final personnel note I have is that Matthew Fury is our new police officer, and Matthew will be sworn in on August 9th. So that's at 9 o'clock for any board member that wishes to attend. It's a week from today at 9 o'clock right here in the Novak room. So those are the personnel updates, and I also wanted to report that I attended the Budget Recommendations Kickoff meeting last Wednesday and gave a budget overview at that meeting. Also, we're already into budget. The budget instructions have been distributed to departments, so we're already working on our FY22 budgets. And also, the CIP draft was completed last week and sent on to the Planning Board. So the Planning Board is going to have their initial hearing on the CIP on August 12th. So that will be, I think that's next
Everyone's
week.
looking at me,
Amongst other things the Planning Board is up to these days.
Is that early?
No, there's two public hearings. One is in August and one is in September. I think last year, because of COVID-19, it may have been delayed a couple of weeks. But the normal schedule is to have it at the beginning of August and then again at the beginning of September. So,
Yeah, it just jumped at me. I don't know why. This is August, it's budget time.
yeah. So we're already at it. Also wanted to report that of the 15 firms that submitted for the public safety building RFQ, we narrowed that down to 5. And we actually interviewed 2 firms today with support from the Facilities Advisory Committee. And we're interviewing 3 more tomorrow. So we should have a proposed contract. My guess is in probably the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending upon how quick that process can move. So it's been a good process so far, and the submittals were really of high quality, so it's been a good review process that has involved both chiefs, a member of the Facilities Committee, our town planner, Dave Sharples, and Paul Vlasich, our town engineer, have all been helping out, and I've been involved directly in that as well, so. We did extend the outdoor dining for Vino e Vivo. I just wanted to report that to the board. We are still approving temporary dining outdoors, even though the state of emergency has expired. We're continuing on the process that we had, and so you'll see an additional structure down at Vino e Vivo in the next week or so on that. So that was signed off by all the departments. And then I'd like to report that I will be at a Health Trust Summit this week from Wednesday through Friday. That's the annual retreat of Health Trust, so I will be up at Mountain View Grand for a couple of days learning all about the latest things that Health Trust is offering. And then I also wanted to thank PEA. They actually have taken the initiative to fund an upgrade of the sidewalks on Spring Street. We did a partial project over there, and I think they took a look at what our project looked like, and they liked it, so they contracted with our contractor and fixed up the rest of the sidewalks over there, so it looks really good. And that was all in my report this week.
Okay, and the stop sign that we discussed at the last meeting is up, I believe, as well as the striping?
Correct. The stop sign is up and the stop bar is painted, yes.
Great. Mr. Dean, would you send the board an email reminder? I know you're going to be away, just to remind us for August 9th for the swearing in of the officer.
I will do that.
I know I tend to need a reminder for things. I also want to congratulate Melissa and David for their respective promotions, and I know that they'll continue to do excellent work for the town of Exeter. And one last thing, I wanted to do this during public comment, but just a public service announcement that tomorrow night is National Night Out at Swayze Park, so we hope to see a lot of people out there meeting the police and maybe trying to take a stab at dunking the select board member or two in the dunk tank, so hope to see everybody out there. Any questions for Mr. Dean from the town manager's report? Okay, thanks, Ross.
Thank you.
Select board committee reports, Selectwoman Rontiola?
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Selectwoman Cowan?
We had a very late planning board meeting last Thursday. We conditionally approved the Noria Energy project in the Jaguar dealership, but they're a ways away from getting actual approval. And then the board voted, I think it was 5-2 to approve Brian Grisette's development.
What is the one on the Noria Energy?
It's a gas station with a car wash and a drive-through. We spent, no joke, 2 hours talking about a left-hand turn. And it was a productive conversation, but that's what happened on Thursday night.
Great, thank you. Selectwoman Gilman?
Yes, I had an energy committee meeting. Nice group of people. We like to get chatty, but Renee Allen keeps us in line. We talked about the Power Aggregation Committee, an update that Lou Hitzrow and Cliff Sinnott have found, I think, 3 other people to fill out the committee so they can start putting together the idea of, what we want to work with.
Terrific.
We talked about, we had an update on the solar tax exemption, just so we all know how it understands, and frankly, I still don't know understand how it works. But there is you do get to see a tax valuation if you install a solar system of any sort. The other thing is that 2 members, Betsy and Amy, are working on a webpage for the group to list, and with links to the rebate programs and things that residences can take advantage of, because there are several, but you don't know where to look for them. Mm-hmm. So that was good. And the Conservation Committee, there it is, looked at a conditional approval, conditional wetland approval permit for 32 Charter Street, where they're proposing 11 townhouse condominiums very close to the river. And I have to say the developers have done a really great job to do as little impact as possible. Some of it is temporary, but still doesn't impact a whole lot. And the prime wetlands are protected. It was a really nice job, and we went ahead and improved it. And then, speaking of events, they're having the Skywatch event at Rains Farm on October 2nd at 7:30. There will be, or rain date of October 16th. There will be telescopes provided, but bring your own. And we think there's enough spacing, people will be comfortable. And we're just hoping for a clear night so you can see what's out there in October. And that's it.
Thank you, that sounds fun. And I did not have any committee meetings. However, I was out of town last week, but I was able to Zoom in to the Budget Recommendations Committee just to thank the committee in advance for all of their hard work they're about to undertake over the next couple of months. And as everybody here knows, budget season is my favorite time of year. So, okay. Moving on to correspondence, we have a letter from Congressman Pappas congratulating the town of Exeter as being selected as a Tree City USA.
Can I just add on to that?
Please.
It just reminded me at the Conservation Commission that Tree Committee brought forward a proposed town ordinance for a tree ordinance, basically, to help the general public understand what trees are municipal trees, and to help the community look out for trees in danger or in need or replacement. So we'll be seeing that as it shapes up a little bit more in the Conservation Commission.
Okay, great, thank you. We also have another copy of the citizens petition that was presented to the Select Board at our last meeting from Andrew Elliott. And we have a letter, rather lengthy letter, from two residents of Drinkwater Road. And Mr. Dean, I know you and I spoke about this. There's quite a bit here. And my assumption is that you're going to reach out to the respective town departments that could cover all of this and then report back to the Select Board, but I didn't know if you wanted to add anything.
No, I would just add that it's a summary of multiple years of issues that involve both PEA, primarily PEA, and people parking along Drinkwater Road to access the PEA trailhead. So there are a lot of different. It also mentions the Smith Page Conservation Land. So I wanted to circulate this amongst the town departments and get some feedback before we took it any further. There's quite a bit here.
There is. So the two requests I'd have is if we could come back to the board in a timely manner, and then also if you could respond to the two residents of Drinkwater Road and just let them know that we've read this, reviewed it, we're going to talk with town departments and then bring it back to the board, and then maybe let them know when that board meeting will be, so that they can be in attendance.
We'll do that.
Thank you. We have two letters from Xfinity, one going over some TV service changes, and the other announcing an emergency connectivity fund to support school districts and libraries. Mr. Dean, is our library taking advantage of this?
I don't know. I'd have to reach out to them and ask that question. I believe they do receive free service from Comcast.
Okay.
So that's my understanding, and I'll reach out to them and find out.
Great, thank you. We have an email from Unitil announcing an electric exercise on August 12th. And we have a letter from the Exeter Area Charitable Foundation thanking the town for the donation of $2,400 in grant money, FY 2021. And we have a letter from Senator Shaheen outlining all of the requests that were made for municipalities in New Hampshire, including those from the town of Exeter. Mr. Dean, have we heard anything from either Senator or Congressman Pappas with respect to the proposals that we sent?
So Congressman Pappas indicated to us that our siphons request has moved to the next phase of that process. So that's in committee and stands a good chance of funding. So hopefully it will stay that way as it goes through. And then we've been in touch with Senator Shaheen's office on both the body-worn cameras and the Webster Pump Station, both of which have reached that next phase of the process. So the news has been good, and we're staying abreast and keeping in contact with the offices as it goes.
Terrific. Great. Thank you. And the last piece of correspondence was from a resident in favor of repurposing Swayze Parkway to no vehicular traffic. We reviewed our board calendar. Again, our next meetings will be August 16th, August 23rd, and September 13th, respectively. And I would ask the board if they have any other comments or anything else they'd like to discuss. And if not, I would entertain a motion to move into non-public.
Mr. Chair, I move we go into a non-public session under 91A-32D.
Madam Clerk.
I'll second it.
And then a roll call.
Well, Selectwoman Roundtree Olaf.
Aye.
Selectwoman Cowan.
Aye.
Clerk says aye. Mr. Chair?
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Board will be moving into non-public.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates.